Um, yeah, I mean, it's some indication that it's like so against my better judgment. Afraid if we start doing this, like, well, let's just say this. What we continue from the last one? It's like part two of that. I mean, it's interesting to speculate, but part of it is like, what is gonna? I mean, of course, the news. I turn it on like whatever time it is. The fact that it's all it doesn't matter what's on the TV news, but it's even made it there. I mean, the economic. I don't know what we were saying before. When people say the economic conditions, like this is what it was. This sort of people that said like I guess this is what it was like living in Weimar Germany before the rise of Hitler. What they mean is, if you're unaware, that what happens the degree to which hyperinflation and like the money it was just like this, like the level of, I don't want to say, but economically, like the level of how badly off everyone was economically, combined with the money becoming it had so little value, and there was an incredible amount. It was a lot like this, and in terms of people's perception of things, um, it's like to see what. In other words, there's a certain times in societies like when the conditions are such. If you want to be like, how does when does how do authoritarian governments and everyone following along with them, like where does it come from? Like at a certain point, like people are conditions are like this, which is where like we have the majority of the population is really in desperate straits, and even if you're fortunate, like the money simply doesn't have much value, combined with what is really a looming threat of the fact that the thing backing the dollar is two things that are in threat of being changed because of we have a dysfunctional legislative branch, but dysfunctional for a variety of reasons. Part of it's almost like this is like one reason they may be operating this way is that actual economic growth is not possible at this point at all of any kind. That means infrastructure, actually anything, manufacturing, returning anything. If British banks on stuff and overseas banks own this much of our currency and growth would depreciate it, meaning we'll get our currency attacked. So while we sit here in this sort of like, situation, the fact of the matter is the fact that this is causing, or whether I don't know what came first, the legislative branch to sort of act irrationally, and like it's openly stated that all countries, and some of whom you wouldn't think would start discussing things with each other, are saying we need to switch the reserve currency. It can't be the dollar. And what the most amazing statement came from the finance minister, I think in China, who said he reminded everyone that it wasn't always the dollar. There was a time when the pound sterling was the reserve currency. What's giving our dollar value is that it's the international reserve currency, which also means oil is denominated in dollars on the international market. If that switches to the euro, if the reserve currency becomes the euro and oil is switched to being denominated in euros, the entire economy will collapse in a way that like will be unfamiliar to everyone and will be desperate conditions. But let's say that. But I'm saying, why would that be something we say? Maybe it's a blessing, and the reason is this: that, like I'm saying, if we are a multicultural, pluralistic society that is on the way all the time to getting more progressive, despite like unfortunately ignorant parts of the population. The truth is like it's progressing gradually with some upsetting like things that are held up in terms of social progress. But basically, it's not a place where everyone is the same or where we all have like hateful views or are inclined to such things. It is a pluralistic country. So I'm saying like right, to the degree that if that level of economic collapse happens, why would we say it's a blessing? Because the truth is, the global picture. I'm saying the economic picture here, the lack of progress here, and what to do about this out of control transnational sector that democratic governments are like powerless over, because it's as though there's a virtual Senate carrying out a referendum and not allowing a democratic government to make changes. Were the economy to collapse to the degree that Americans basically asked for some sort of radically new thing to happen to pull us out of it, and we went into some type of phase of having sort of like we had during World War II, like a command economy, some kind of command economy, and a leader that every single person was behind. That would be the solution to so many problems, including the threat to the planet. An American being the way of the military power, if we did have the entire population supporting a kind of command economy and like semi-authoritarian personality at the helm, like we'd be able to discipline transnational capital, get back our economic sovereignty, and start stopping the transnational sector from harming the environment the way it is. I mean, be able to carry out all the things that appear to be impossible, like we're all going to die together because of the planetary situation caused by a sector that's operating above all governments, and there's no economic growth here. If all the other countries like really did decide to switch to reserve currency, and oil was no longer denominated in dollars, and the money literally just turned into having the value of the paper the ink was put on, that level of economic collapse would move us into a situation where we would actually maybe blissfully have a kind of American version of an authority, like an incredibly powerful executive branch close to what we call authoritarian, but that everyone was behind, and a sort of command economy like we had during World War II. We could get back economic sovereignty, rebuild the economy, have manufacturing, and be in a position to finally discipline this transnational sector from killing the entire planet. That would be what one potential blessing out of total economic collapse, because right now there doesn't seem like there's much of a way out of this, and as bad as we feel about tent cities everywhere, soldiers coming back, living on the street, like there's simply the money having no value, this much poverty and homelessness, unfamiliar country has a social structure looks like a South American country rather than what it used to look like here, and that's not that South America is the worst income inequality in the world. That if we could shift to everything we just spoke of, that's a speculation worth. It's not something we could choose. It may just happen on its own, but like that would be what persons like myself would speculate whether or not it's a blessing if certain things happen.